NASA. I'm onto you, NASA. I know what you're up to, and I know why you're doing it. Hey there. I've had a theory for a while now involving NASA and their possible role in the Flat Earth movement. So here it is. I think NASA purposefully had a hand in kickstarting the modern Flat Earth movement.
You serious?
Bear with me, I'm serious. It's just a theory. I really do think my argument for it is fairly reasonable. As most of you already know, Flat Earthers are a part of our lives now, whether we like it or not. And it's pretty obvious they aren't going anywhere, considering the fact that mountains upon mountains of globe Earth evidence has been shown and thoroughly analysed by all of us. Yet, we still have Flat Earthers. So, they're here to stay. And that's fine, because for some reason, so many of us absolutely love arguing with them. And because of this, we've all been forced to get more educated or re-educated and learn a multitude of topics, such as earth science, astronomy, physics, how camera optics work, orbital mechanics, etc., etc. Just like how extraterrestrials would unite humanity if they invaded Earth, Flat Earthers seem to have united the so-called geeks, the nerds, and the casual science enthusiasts like nothing I've ever seen in my lifetime. It's incredible. And you don't have to look too far on social media to see people all fired up about science, the Earth, and space. People who wouldn't normally think twice about any of that, like some good friends of mine who are now heavily into space and science, and that's mainly due to what they've learned from researching everything about the Earth that's been suggested by the people who are leading the charge against the Flat Earthers. And who's the one organisation that's probably received the most attention and publicity out of all of this? NASA. I've been following NASA and other related groups for at least 20 years or more. I've always been into science and space since I was a little kid, but in my late teens, NASA showed us these high-resolution images of Mars from the Pathfinder mission, days after they were taken. Something in me clicked. I really can't explain it. For me, space and the planets were no longer just something cool to read about or look at from afar. They were now something very real, and from those images we could look at the rocks and the sand and the sky all in high definition. I mean, just look at some of the latest images taken of Mars. I mean, come on, how incredible are these? Okay, I've gotten a bit off track here, but my point is, I was hooked. Every few days or weeks for over 20 years, I've been checking the NASA website and other science sites just to see what's happening in the world of science and space discoveries. And there were several articles that popped up from time to time stating that someone from NASA was worried about its future and the future of space exploration. And they were always wondering if there were going to be enough young people studying science and technology, engineering and mathematics to keep the dream of space travel alive well into the future. And these articles would have questions and ideas about ways to get young people into science. Suggestions would range from different types of special open days at NASA facilities to even NASA video games. And I can remember NASA planning to do a large-scale game, kind of like Kerbal Space Program, but on a much larger scale, where every aspect of space travel had to be crafted and designed and implemented by a massive online multiplayer community. Unfortunately, it never happened, but this is the premise of my theory. What if the positive side of an alien invasion threat scenario got mixed in with NASA's concern about its future and the future of spaceflight, and someone at NASA thought that the amateur science community needed a common, harmless enemy to combat that would be big enough for people like us to get all fired up about science while we argue with the science deniers. It would have to be something already in place, something that could be observed, tested and questioned. Chemtrails would be a good one, but there's not really enough subject matter. Climate change would be good too. Even the US president denies climate change. But what about the flat Earth? Now that is perfect. The Earth can be observed, tested and questioned. The sky plays a huge role too. Almost every field of science can be utilised to combat the flat Earth. All Flat Earth needed was to get moved into the mainstream gossip, have a couple of celebrities talking about it, maybe get someone to spread a little bit of disinformation, bring God into the mix, and boom! You have an entire belief system that's promoted and researched by the faithful believers that need to feel awoken and special. And then all the followers of science end up researching and learning more about the Earth and space to combat Flat Earth, and even have some people take science into their own hands, showing us all how incredible science can be at discovering the world around us. Just think how many amazing observations and photos that have been made already in response to Flat Earth. I mean, even the Flat Earthers do some cool stuff. Although, whoever kickstarted the modern Flat Earth movement probably didn't take into account the unpredictability of stupidity, or even that there'd end up being an idiot in the White House. All I can say is, I'm glad there's a Flat Earth movement, because I know for a fact that none of these observations and photos never would have existed without the Flat Earth.